It is Sunday, and we're back on LB0 Fox India Live. And I actually managed to point the right way. To my left here, I got Mike, K8MRD. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. How
And
are you?
thank you for joining me. We're going to talk a little bit about parks on the air today. And I figured you'd be a good guy to have on for parks on the air. You know a little bit about the subject, don't you?
I've done one or two activations, yeah.
Yeah, maybe filmed one or two as well.
The camera may have accidentally been rolling too, yes.
Yeah, that's good. So, because when I started POTA started up in Norway about a year ago, and when I started, I had a hard time. Didn't seem like anyone was doing it in Europe at all,
It's
and
taken a little while.
it's taken a little while, but now we're to the point where I got constant pileups running for 40, 45 minutes every
Yeah,
time.
that's
So
awesome.
it's absolutely growing. But I mean, there's still room for more growth. But first of all, Mike, for the people who don't know you, I guess there's one or two people on YouTube that haven't seen your channel.
Probably a
Would you
couple
like to
more than that.
tell us a little bit about what you
I
do in
still don't think
YouTube?
Mr. Beast knows who I am yet. So, my name is Mike. I'm an amateur radio operator. I have a little YouTube channel called K8MRD Radio Stuff, and I focus a lot on parks on the air. I got started in parks on the air very, very early in the program's development. One of the guys in my club in Michigan is one of the system admins for Parks on the Air. His name's Mike, W8MSC. So him and another guy, Eric, K8ERS, took me out on my first Parks on the Air activation. This is years ago now. And this is still very early in my ham radio career. I was licensed in 2016. And my first field day, I got on the air like the last hour on Sunday and made like 96 contacts or something in that last hour. And it was just, that pileup was such a rush. And Parks on the Air is the same. So they took me out for my first Parks on the Air activation, and I filmed that. And from there, the views started going up. Parks on the Air as a program started getting bigger and bigger. But you guys are going through right now, like in Europe and other countries outside of the U.S. are going through, what we were going through in the U.S. years ago when the program first started. I mean, I would be out there for an hour or longer just calling CQ, trying to make 10 contacts to activate the park. And it wasn't uncommon for most of the people coming back to me. They would say, what are you doing? What is Parks on the Air? Like nobody had any clue what it was. So you'd explain to them, you take our portable gear out and get on the air, and it's all, battery power and portable antennas and stuff. And it's just a great way to enjoy nature and play radio. And through the years, it's gotten a lot bigger. So the channel kind of focused on just portable operating, because that's the guys that I was watching when I first became licensed in ham radio. I was watching Jerry KG6HQD and Tony K9ARV, who's now N4ARV, I think. And they're just doing portable HF radio. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. So Parks on the Air naturally was a way to incorporate the fun of being the receiving end of the pileup. And it gave people a reason to want to come back to your CQ as opposed to just calling CQ or calling CQDX, because it's now it's like a sport, right? We want to see how many activators we can get in the log. We want to see how many parks we can get as hunters. So it's
there's kind of a gamification concept into Parks on the Air, though. You constantly want to get your number of parks and your number of contacts up. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just like there's no, the rules are made up and the points mean nothing kind of thing. It's just something fun to do. So like there's all kinds of awards in Parks on the Air program, and I honestly could care less about awards. There is one that I really like just because I think it's funny, called the Repeat Offender Award, where you go and activate a park 20 times or multiples of 20 times and you get different repeat offender awards. So I've got 2 more activations at Huntsville State Park to get to 80 activations at that park. So it's just funny, but you can get all kinds of awards for hunters as well. And, they send you a little PDF if you want to print it out and hang it on your wall or anything. So it's just it's just like another reason to get out and play radio.
Exactly. And I see Stian comments here in the chat. He don't have any place to put up any antennas at home. So POTA is the perfect excuse to bring the gear out and activate. And that's actually an important point, because a lot of people live in apartments or HOAs or in situations where being able to put up an 80-meter dipole at home, it just isn't possible. And this gives people an opportunity to get out there and actually play radio and get some contacts. Because just calling CQ when it's not part of any program, it's probably not going to get you anywhere, especially on QRP.
Yeah, I mean, I've made contacts, but before I started doing parks on the air, like if you look at my really early videos, I would just go to a park down the street from my house and throw up an antenna, and I'd call CQ, and sometimes someone would come back, but not very often. Or you'd like check into a net, and it's like, it's, to me, I'm not a net person. But it's, there's also like, I have room. I have an 80-meter. I have 2 80-meter end feds above my house. But very often my noise floor is so incredibly high because of all the electrical wires that in my little cul-de-sac that I live. It's just terrible. So like right now we're looking at 10 meters on the scope here, and it's actually pretty low noise floor, but like there's 40 meters. Look at all that noise there.
Yeah.
There's 80.
I'll
there's
put you
10.
up a little bit. Let me just figure out how to make you a little bit bigger here, Mike. And see here.
There, I can just embiggen the scope there. Like you can just see all the white noise. I'm looking at well, let me get off that frequency. I'm looking at an S10 at least noise floor on 40 meters right now. Here's 10 meters. Wow, 10 meters is freaking banging. Look at
that. Yeah, I actually managed to make my activation on 10 meters today going out. And since I'm a little bit further north than you, 10 hasn't been as great as it has been for you guys. But now with the flux being above 200, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's 209 right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So,
and I've never seen this. The only thing I know is the bottom of the solar cycle, because I was licensed in 2016. And like I was having fun making DX contacts primarily on 20 meters. But even the bottom of the solar cycle, I'm still making them. But it was like 40 and 20 were the only bands that were, every now and again 6 might open, every now and again 10. But now it's like I do a live stream every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central, or excuse me, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central. And we just get on 10 meters just to promote like single sideband and what technicians can do just as a technician class. I don't know what it is in your country, but like the entry level, they don't have access to all the frequencies that different tiers of licenses. And it's different in different countries, but in the United States, technicians, which is the entry level ham radio license, they have some privileges in the HF bands, but it's mostly CW, and it's a very small portion of it on different frequencies. But on 10 meters specifically, from 28 to 28.5, they have privileges.
Exactly.
So they can get on single sideband from 28.3 to 28.5. So
yeah, and that's an important point, though. If you're in a country with limited license classes, here we only have one license class, though. So when you get licensed, you can pretty much do anything.
Oh, that's nice.
But I mean, being able for the new guys to get on and experience that rush of a pileup might be something that triggers them wanting to get another license class. And I've actually when doing 10 meters here, when I see the gray line is approaching the US, I've been specifically trying to stay within the technician spectrum of the 10 meter band, just to get those people as well.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing is that a lot of, myself included, when we get licensed as a technician, we just get like a mobile VHF, UHF radio. And the first one I got actually did 10 meters, but it only did 10 meters FM. So So there's not a lot of I'm guessing, but I'm guessing there's not a lot of technicians that have a radio capable of doing single sideband unless you get specifically a radio designed for that, or you just, you know, you buy a like a 991A or a 7000 or something like, or 7100 rather, that kind of is one of those shack in the box radios where you can kind of do all the frequencies. But that's a big initial investment for someone who may have just picked up a Baofeng. So I'm trying to, which, I mean, that was my first ham radio, was a UV5R. Like,
yeah,
I'm can't.
it was probably everyone's first ham radio, and probably and probably before everyone got licensed, they had a Baofeng.
Yeah, I bought mine before I got licensed, and I would sit there and listen to the repeaters while I'm studying, and then I finally took the test and had to wait like 2 weeks for the FCC to actually post my call sign before I could get on the air and transmit. But that was the longest 2 weeks of my life.
So yeah, I've seen your videos though, where you promote Parks on the Air for technicians, and that's really, really good. And my camera might drop in and out a little bit just to the viewers here, but just bear with it. I can't do anything about it now, but I mean, that's a really good thing, and you do a really good job promoting Parks on the Air and showing how fun it is, and showing the pileups. And I know from my own editing though that the pileups doesn't always come straight away, but
no, they don't. That's the magic power of editing.
Yeah, but I mean, having those pileups when they start. I had my club president out. I was going to show him Parks on the Air today, so he was with me on my activation, and he was just amazed on the pileups I got by just calling CQ a couple of times, and that's the magic of spotting yourself. No, it doesn't.
Much. And the last one that I just did was on 10 meters QRP with my Yaesu 818. So, and it took me 24 minutes to get 10 contacts. So imagine if I was running 100 watts.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing, now the band was up and down that day, but I was tuning around. I was hearing CW stations. I was hearing digital. I was hearing phone. I mean, it was open. So, you know, to do that with 5 watts and a little homebrew speaker wire dipole, you know,
you shouldn't underestimate those dipoles.
There's this is 10 meters, like it's wide open. So yeah, just get out there and have fun. It's the name of the game.
And back to you're talking about QRP though. For a new guy doing Parks on the Air, would you recommend QRP?
Yeah, why not? I've done plenty of QRP operations. So I get a lot of people are into the specifically the Zygo G90.
Yeah,
that is a very, very popular and very, very capable radio. The trick to getting a pilot is to use Mike's call sign. We joke around about that, and maybe early in the beginning of POTA, like, I mean, I feel, and I don't mean to sound boastful, but I feel I kind of was the face of Parks on the Air for a while. Like now, like everybody in the world is doing it, but so many people around the world would email me in the beginning, like, what do I got to do to get this in my country? I'm like, I don't know, dude. I just go out there. So they got a hold of like Jason Johnston, W3AX, who's the father of POTA.
Yeah.
And you know, figured out how to get it in their countries. But so it's nice to just kind of inspire others. I totally lost my train of thought. I have no idea where it's going.
We were talking about G90 and QRP.
Oh yeah. So I've done many a POTA activation with the G90 now, but that's 20 watts. But in all honesty, between 5 watts and 100 watts is a little more than 2 S units. So it's not, power isn't as important as you'd think. So, I mean, if you're out there pushing 20 watts, there's not much difference between 100 watts and 20 watts at all.
No, not at all.
It's antenna.
Exactly. And the G90 was my first portable radio, and I always recommend that to people because it's built like a tank. It's got 20 watts, and it's got all the features you want to see, though. Almost.
It is a bare bones radio. Like I think a lot of its popularity is because it has a waterfall and people just want to see that, and I get it. It doesn't have noise reduction, and it doesn't have a notch filter. Those are my two bugaboos that I constantly harp on that radio for. But for a little over $400,
it's a lot of radio for your
kinda
money,
can't.
though.
It is. It really is.
So
The 891, I would say, would be, those are in US about $650. So if you can save up another couple $100, the 891, but
then
yeah,
you
it
lose
doesn't
then
take
you lose
much.
the tuner, though, and you
See,
lose
I
the
could care
water
less
call.
about a tuner. Use resonant antennas. They're going to be more
But
efficient anyway. So
exactly, but if you're new, you're probably gonna try out a 9 to 1 and a random wire antenna, and
I didn't. I built my antennas. I built a fan dipole was my first homemade antenna that I used for several years. I built a fan dipole for 40 and 20. But like, there's so many different avenues you can go down in ham radio, right? Like, we could talk about just this one conversation all day.
Exactly.
The bottom line is go with whatever radio checks off the most boxes for you, the most features and everything that you want. Doesn't matter what I want. Doesn't matter what Morton wants. It matters what you want.
Exactly.
If
And
you
it matters
want an
on
antenna tuner, get a radio with an antenna tuner. The G90 has one of the best tuners that I've ever used.
I actually tuned my G90 without an antenna plugged in one time.
You can probably do that. Yeah, it'll just tune up the SO230.
It wasn't really that efficient, though. I noticed that I didn't have any noise, though. So in that regards, it was pretty good. Yeah. but yeah, I prefer QRP, and that's basically because I operate a lot of places where you're not necessarily able to drive to. You got to do a little bit of a hike, and then QRP is actually pretty good for that.
Yeah.
So and my radio at the moment is the X6100, which has turned out to become a pretty decent radio.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that one.
So, and I see LB4FH comments maybe do 3 Yankee POTA. That's Bouvet Island, I think. So, and that is actually a POTA location. That is a Norwegian POTA location. Yeah.
Wow. Huh. I might have to hide on be a stowaway on one of their boats.
You're a little bit too late, though. They're about to disembark on
once
Bouvet
they
Island.
land on Bouvet Island, I'll pop up out of a crate. Surprise.
Yeah. And I see Henning's got a good point here, though. Your battery lasts longer doing QRP, and that's an important point, though.
Well, it depends on the size battery you're using, I suppose. But
yeah,
like, so a lot of people will regurgitate this statement that if you just want to do QRP, get a 100-watt radio and turn your power down. That could not be any farther from the truth. They're completely different radios with a completely different mindset. So in that regard, yes, like my 818 and my 705, actually the 705, I think is like 0.3 amps of current draw and receive. The 818 is about a half an amp, I think, where the 891 draws a solid amp just sitting there. So yeah, your radios are smaller, your batteries are smaller because you are using you're just simply using less power. But like if you're going to do, so if you bought an 891 and with really the intention of doing more QRP activations, you're still going to need a bigger battery.
Exactly.
The radio's heavier, the battery's going to be heavier because it simply has a bigger current draw just sitting there. So, and it's heavier.
Yeah.
So there's, buy many radios is the takeaway.
It always seems like there's another radio waiting for you, though.
Oh yeah. I had no intention of buying the 818, and then they're like, "Well, it's discontinued," and I'm like,
Yeah, I sold my 817 2 days before it got discontinued.
Oh wow!
And now I kind of regret that.
There's so many out there. There's not going to be any shortage of them. So
no, and that is actually it's not a beginner's radio, though. If you're just starting out in ham radio, I wouldn't go for the 817 or 818 because it's really menu driven and it requires a little bit more skill. Don't you agree, Mike?
Oh, I could go a lot of different ways with. I mean, I would not recommend an 818 or an 817. It's just dated. When Yaesu changed to the 818, and I understand they did it because of the chip shortage and whatnot, but they really had a chance to update some things, and they didn't. So I really wouldn't recommend an 818. It is dated. Like, it doesn't have noise reduction. It doesn't have notch filters. Like, I would say a G90 is better than an 818
Yeah, absolutely.
for a few $100 less. So, yeah, you don't have an internal battery on the G90, but the internal battery on the 818 is just terrible, absolute garbage. And I'm looking at buying a lithium battery for the 818, and that's like $120. You're gonna have to spend another $120 to get a good battery for the 818. So
you're gonna spend a
internal
lot.
battery, anyway.
You're gonna spend a lot of money on upgrading the 818 to almost get it to the point of being close to modern radio.
I mean, it's 20 years old. They
is.
didn't update it at all, and it works fine. But it's like, would you buy a 20-year-old cell phone? Probably not.
Well, it's not a fair comparison, no. But
they're both radios.
Yeah.
So, do we have questions about like getting into parks on the air, or what do we want to tackle here? I could talk about radios and antennas all day long, but
yeah, we got a lot of opinions on radios in the chat
at
the moment.
Oh yeah. There's nothing ham radio. If there's one thing ham radio is not short on, it's opinions.
Yeah. But speaking of antennas though, and I believe, as you do, and at least close to resonant antennas on doing portable activations, because you want to get as much of the power out as you can if you're running QRP. So what's your go-to antenna for parks in the air, Mike?
Oh gosh, I have a lot of antennas, but typically some form of end-fed half wave, and I understand there's losses in there. Either you are transforming impedance, and that loss does get turned into heat, but the trade-off is they're just so small and compact and easy to set up. So my goal is I want to get out there and I want to get in the air. I don't want to be fussing around for a half an hour or an hour setting up towers and antennas and all kinds of stuff. So for me, in terms of brands, the Pactena end-fed half wave is number one, along with the DX Commander Expedition. Both of those, the Pactena and end-fed half wave is going to be the easiest antenna you can set up. The DX Commander takes me about 17 minutes to set up. But the benefit there is no compromise in transformation. It's multi-banded. So on my DX Commander Expedition, I have 40, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10, all perfectly resonant. And I like a multi-banded resonant antenna because I want to switch bands. Patience is not my strongest quality. So like if I'm just tuning around, or maybe we get out there, a lot of guys, and I would encourage this, a lot of guys, when they get out, before they get on the air and start calling CQ, they'll tune around, and there's an app called Hammers, Hotel Alpha Mike Romeo Sierra. It's a logging software that we use. It's like $5 on your iPhone. It's free on computers.
And it's great for portable logging.
Yeah. I mean, it is literally, so Hammers stands for ham radio software. That's what it means. Just about as clever name as K8MRD radio stuff. But Jarrett Green is the developer of it, and he made it specifically for parks on the air. Now he's added SOTA. There's a winter field day template, but it has everything you need to do logging. So download that. And so the benefit of Hammers is it pulls in the info, the spotting info from parks on the air. So if you see where it says POTA spots there's kind of 3 tabs in the middle there. And right now it's on the map. It's about to change over to POTA spots. And so you can see who's on the air. And all you have to do is click that button that says copy, and it autofills all their info up into the call sign area. So you don't have to type in anything. It'll type in its call sign. It'll type in the frequency you're on, the mode, the band, all that stuff. So you can tune around and get some park to parks and see who's out there. So having a multi-band resonant antenna is going to allow you to do that quickly versus, if you have a ham stick or a Wolf River coils, both great antennas, but you got to get up, you got to retune it, you got to, do this and that and the other thing. And, 5-10 minutes have gone by. just to find out that you can't hear that guy.
Exactly. And,
So
my go-to antenna has been for last 6 months has been the MFJ 1979.
yeah.
Which requires a little bit of shortening or lengthening depending on the band. So, but it's easy to get there if you're
How
doing
are
it
you
from
deploying that?
I'm deploying it with a mag mount on top of my car.
Okay, great.
Either
So
that
those are
or a ground spike.
yeah, those are really if you have an antenna analyzer, those are pretty darn easy to tune up. You still got to unscrew it from the radio, but I mean,
Yeah,
in maybe a minute and a half, you can tune those up. So, and it's already resonant on 20 meters just by fully extending it. So,
exactly.
or
It's
mostly in the
an
United
easy
States.
antenna. We got a question here from LB4FH. Should he upload his backlog of worldwide flora fauna logs as POTA logs too? Because a lot of the parks are overlapping between flora fauna and parks on the air.
I don't see why not. I mean, so long as it was when Parks on the Air was a program. I mean, if it was before then, I don't think it would count. Yeah, I mean, if so that's the thing with Parks on the Air. Now, I'm gonna put a caveat on here. Check with the Parks on the Air officials. I'm not associated with Parks on the Air at all. I don't work for them. I don't get kickbacks. I just love the program and I support it. So check with them. But
he says it would have to be within valid times though. So and why not?
The thing with Parks on the Air is so if you're doing a Parks on the Air activation, you don't actually have to say to anyone you're doing a Parks on the Air activation. You can just all you have to do is make 10 simplex contacts within one Zulu day in a park to get the park activated. You can also do satellites, just no repeaters. It can be on, and they've also eliminated JS8 call for some reason, which I don't know why. I think it's weird, but you can't do JS8 call.
I noticed that though, so that's good to know.
Yeah, I think it's stupid, but I'm not
I haven't tried though. I'm no big fan of JS8 call, so I've done a couple of FT8 activations just for the simplicity.
FT8 works like anything.
It actually turns out that doing an FT8 activation takes a lot longer than doing it on sideband.
Well, I mean, you got 15-second transmission each way, but I just did an FT8 activation with my 705 and the Pactana NFED half wave. We were on Galveston Island. This was on December 30th. And I had on the receiving side of WSJTX, there was like 14 stations. My whole right side of my screen was red from people trying to work me. So there is no start date for POTA. If you have the logs, came from a POTA location, upload them. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess check with Parks on the Air though. They would give you a correct answer. And I
mean, if you were out in a park in like 1999 and you have the log for that, that'd probably be a little sketch, but
and I see that LB4FH Seattle has probably the reason why you can't do JS8 call anymore.
Yeah, that could be. That makes sense because you can't relay you can't relay a contact. That wouldn't count. It's got to be a direct simplex contact. So
but that should be true for VAR AC as well. I don't know if you tried VAR AC, but that can also let you relay messages. So I guess both of those modes
I don't think there's a lot
of
so I see there's an Alaskan station. It might be KL7BO, I think is the call, something like that. And I'll see him spotted doing VARA, whatever the heck it is. It's on a little bit above where FT8 is. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I don't even really read the rules. I kind of know them. I just go out there and play radio. I'm a sideband guy. I do FT8. That's about it.
Yeah, and sideband is at least for me. I know people that only do FT8 for their activations, but kind of the kick for me is getting those pileups and getting to work the pileups and hearing the voices on the other end.
Yep, that's the same way with me. I like to hear the people. I don't have a huge desire to learn CW. Just speaking in bleeps and bloops doesn't really appeal that much to me. I want to talk to somebody. I want to know where my signal's getting out, and I want to know how well it's getting out. And it's
exactly
just the quick process of of a Parks on the Air activation.
Exactly. And I see DX Scotland, he's apparently new to Parks on the Air. So if you got any
Nice.
questions, feel free to ask him here and we'll try to answer them as well as possible.
So we can share the screen and show him the map.
Yeah.
If you want.
I don't know if you want to do it or
yeah, I can do
let's see here.
I'll pretend to know my geography. So here's so the website's just POTA.app, and over here in the sign in, you can hit sign in and you can create an account. So I'll go ahead and log in there. Up here on this little hamburger icon, are you seeing my mouse?
Yeah, I'm seeing your mouse.
Okay. So up here on this little hamburger icon, we can click that, and right here where it says map, we go to the map. And for some reason, it has me in California. So where's Scotland? Way up here somewhere.
Yep, you're pretty
so here's
much
Scotland.
Right on.
So all these little yellow blips are all different parks. So we can just click on this one, for example, and that's all right. Scotland. How do you say that? All right, let's pick a different one. Good Lord. Crath's Castle Garden and Estate Country Park. So your designator is Golf Mike 0051. You can click on more info and you can see this park has been activated one time by Mike 0, Mike November. And he made a total of 17 contacts. He made 16 data and 1 phone. So that's it. Pretty easy. Am I going to have to go back there? And then if you're in, you can do it anywhere in the world. You can have it home in on your location there. But yeah, just go over to Scotland here. And sometimes the POTA app's a little wonky. Sometimes it might take a minute for all the yellow blips to appear. But now, like it was just up here for a minute. Now we can see all these other ones. So depending on where you are in Scotland, find one.
And I've noticed when you zoom out, it doesn't always update the
yeah, not at all. Not at all. So we can go to the UK here and so all over the place. But yeah, I mean, look at all these. So I would imagine, how big is Scotland? Scotland's not terribly big, is it? So you could probably get, I mean, how long does it take to drive across Scotland?
I've never been there, so I can tell you.
A few hours, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could hit any of these, within a few hour drive, I would imagine. So,
and I got a couple of comments here. Jeff comments that CW gives you a little better chance of being heard sometimes, and he's absolutely correct about that.
Yeah.
And DX Scotland comments that Scotland's huge. Well, it's smaller than Texas.
How's that compared to Texas?
everything's smaller than Texas.
Let's see, where's Texas? Here's Texas. I live here. So like I only have, it looks like these two, actually this whole thing is kind of two part. Here's Huntsville State Park and all of this green is Sam Houston National Forest. So there's 1, 2, 3. Like it looks like these are all close to me. This park here takes me about an hour to get to. I live right here in Huntsville.
Yep.
This one down here is about 45 minutes to get to. And if we zoom out, we start seeing all these other things here. But to get from here where I live up to Dallas is about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then you have the entire rest of the state. So it takes about 12 hours to drive across the state of Texas.
Yeah, and people tend to underestimate how big everything is in the U.S., but that's a whole different discussion.
The U.S. is huge. Someone in Wales and pronounce it. Okay. Now you guys are looking at my geology here. Where is Wales? There it is.
Hopefully there's no Welsh people in the chat though, so you're pretty much free to.
Carngefalt. Really?
We're not gonna let you try the Norwegian parks though. So
all right, come on. You speak English over there, right?
Actually, they speak Welsh.
All right? I'm giving up on that. Nope. And where are you? You're in Norway?
I'm in Norway, all the way in the southeastern part of Norway. So a little bit further south. You see that little dip there with the border. And I'm actually trying to point with my mouse.
Holy crap, you got a lot of parks there.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's pick one at random. Tresticle Nature Reserve. That wasn't too bad.
No,
Don't mess up
that's
saying
that's
that one, though.
that's actually pretty good. You're in my area down. No,
Smoked Stadia. Smockstad. Is that an L or an I? I can't tell.
it's probably an L.
Smockstadlia.
Yeah, I have my preview screen really small, and I got middle-aged man eye, so I'm not able to read it.
So that's how you find one.
Yeah,
Very, very
and,
easy. And you can also let me go over here. So you can search. You can also, like, if you know a specific park in your area, you can type the park name in here. So like Huntsville State Park, and you can see where that is, or Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton State Park. It'll show you where they are on the map. So there's many different ways to find what you're looking for.
And we got a comment here from LB4FH that we're missing at least half of the parks that could be added, because when Parks in the Area was released in Norway, they kind of just added the flora fauna parks.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much everything is nature preserves. And I've added a couple of parks since then. And you can actually do that, though, if you're anywhere but the United States, if I've understood that correctly. You can just send an email to your country manager and see if you can add a park.
Yep. And it's important to note, because I see this asked a lot. Parks on the Air is designed for, in our case, state and national parks.
Yeah.
So these aren't like just the city park down the street from you. These are more kind of government level parks.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the rules have changed to regional or national parks.
Yeah, in different countries, but like,
and I guess that's got to be it's going to be a difference depending on where you are, though. But it's not the local city parks.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people complaining about that, and it's like, that's not what this program. Like, Summit's on the air. Well, I live in Texas where it's flat. There's no summits here, so I just it is an unfair world. And if that really is your thing, like, start city parks on the air. For me, Parks on the Air is about it's about supporting nature. It's about supporting our planet and not desecrating it, as we're doing such a good job of humans is doing. I do love nature. So don't ruin it. It's a way to get out and celebrate. Make sure you take everything with you that you brought. Always, when you're packing up, always look around. Make sure you're not leaving any garbage, any spikes in the ground, anything. You want to leave it just as good, if not better, as you found it. And city parks don't do that.
No, and you're actually, it's an important point. And when I started Parks on the Air with the parks that was available here a year ago, it was nature preserves, and almost all of them required about at least half an hour of hiking through wet woodland to get in there. And I managed to get a park in town added, because that's a military national park. It's an old fortress. And that's drivable. So that's been my go-to park for the last couple of months.
Yeah. But it's nice I love hiking through the woods. It's just, unless you're out in the middle of the ocean, it's some of the freshest air you're ever going to breathe, being surrounded by all those trees. And it's just beautiful. You see the animal. I love snakes, so I always get excited when I cross paths with a snake. Still haven't seen any rattlesnakes here in Texas. I'm hoping one day, but I've seen some copperheads and some king snakes, and these are venomous snakes that'll kill you. But they generally slither away from you.
Yeah, and LB4FH asked if you've ever done an overnight POTA.
I've camped in. So when Jason and I drive to Huntsville Hamfest, I'll stay at his house in Dallas overnight, and then we'll head out real early in the morning. Usually takes us 2 days to get there, so we will camp out. We'll look at the POTA app and find a park that's kind of halfway in between, and we'll set up there and We're not on the air all night. Our goal is to eventually sleep, but yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, there's late shift activations that have their own set of awards and things, and that's kind of neat when you're doing an activation just during the regular day and then it turns into late shift. They kind of changed it, but it used to be basically you get to work all those people over again. So once that late shift thing kicks in, that like your pileup might have started fading a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's just right back to to where it was. So it's pretty exciting. But propagation changes at night, so you're using different bands and stuff. So
exactly, and I mean night shift when the program was started here, the night shift was on US times. So I've actually started early in the morning and got the night shift award for doing it in daytime.
And that's why they changed it.
Yeah.
Because it was based off of the Zulu day. So it's 0 Zulu, which for me is 6 p.m. right now.
Yeah.
Or is it 7? I forget.
It is.
It would change. But then like guys in Hawaii, it's like 11 in the morning and it's late shift. So I get why they changed it. I think they overcomplicated it, but whatever.
Well, you still got an app though that tells you when it's late shift or not. It actually says on the parks now on the POTA website if what the late shift and early shift times. I think.
Does it? Let's fact check that.
I'm gonna fact check that.
Yeah, do that.
Let's see.
That would be really cool to see.
Let's see.
Because I'm not a very smart guy, so going from like a 24-hour clock to a 12-hour clock is challenging for me. But then going from Zulu time to my time currently.
Let's see here. Yeah, it says early shift award times and late shift award times.
Okay. All right, well, that's cool.
Because we're UTC plus 1, plus 2 in the summer, but plus 1 in the winter. And
see, then you gotta know
check,
that. I think I'm -6 right now. Or either
you are
-5 or -6. I can't remember.
You're on Central Time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be -6 then.
Yeah.
Because you're 7 hours behind me. So
go to pull up Kilo 3019.
Kilo 3019.
Yeah. That's my home park.
See what it says here.
Let's see. So actually, late shift is 0 UTC, which is I have no idea. That is
your UTC -5. So that should be 7 p.m. for you.
It's not though. I think it's 8. I'm pretty sure I'm -6 right now.
Okay, what time is it at?
Well, right now it is 2:43 p.m.
Yeah, so you're UTC -6 then. Exactly. Yeah.
And then so 0 UTC is
that's 6 p.m.
What? Is that 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least in the winter, but with daylight saving times that changes though. So
all right.
Because UTC doesn't have daylight savings.
Did they change because I feel I've done a late shift. I was just out there and it turned into the next Zulu day. And then I was operating, let's say this day. And then the Zulu clock turned over. And I worked people. And then what I'm going to call the next day, but before the next Zulu day, I went out to that park again, ended up working some of the same people, and I got duplicates because I activated the night before. So that was kind of disappointing because it used to be once the Zulu day changed, all of those new contacts that I made were counted as late shift accounts or contacts.
Yeah.
They weren't, and then I could go out the next day, at like noon, work all those same stations again, and that would count as a different activation, and they would get credit for like working me twice at that park technically in the same day, because
And I
one was
see,
under late shift and one was just it's noon, it's whatever.
yeah, and I
So
see there's a discussion here. Do you have to do the entire activation within the shifts to get them awarded? And I think the short answer here from our discussion is we don't really know.
they really, really, really overcomplicated it. So, when they first made that change, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I'm like, huh? I'm like, why wouldn't you just make it like 9 o'clock wherever you are?
Yeah, but that's kind of strange though, because well, that should actually work though.
Yeah.
Never mind my argument here.
Or pick a time. Like, what's late for you? If you want to make
Yeah.
it 7 o'clock, whatever local time it is, if it's 7 o'clock local time where that park is. But then they're like, well, because some parks span multiple time zones, so it's like where the pin is. It's like, no, just where you are.
Yeah, and that's the U.S. though. We're lucky here. We just have one time zone.
Yeah.
But I see that Stewart says the only thing you have to remember is that the activation is 10 QSOs within a UTC day.
Yeah, but that's like, I don't like that answer because he's saying the back end sorts it out. I don't want the back end. What if I'm specifically going for a late shift? And then for some reason I don't get it because they have just way overcomplicated it. So I don't know. I'm not trying to rag on them. They don't owe me a thing. So I'm sure they have their reasons.
Then again, though, Mike, ham radio is not always easy.
No. And it's just like the discussion on what's the best antenna or what's the best radio or what's the best way to figure out this UTC time. I agree what they did is the right thing, because just going by Zulu time for late shift and saying 0 Zulu is late shift is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because some guys are waking up in the morning and it's all of a sudden late shift. So yeah, if it's dark, it's late shift. There you go. Then they could be like, well, what if it's just cloudy?
Yeah. Or what if you're north, you're north of the Arctic Circle? Though?
Yeah. So I'm sure they had many long discussions. There's a lot of I know a lot of people in the POTA admin. There's a lot of smart people there. So, I'm sure there was a little bit of give and take, and I'm certainly not throwing shade. I love them, and I'm very grateful for all that. But for me, not being a smart guy, you're kind of left like, huh? So anyway, but that's good that they put those times on there.
Yeah, and Stu says the best antenna is his antenna.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. Can I have it?
And back to antennas though, it depends on your operating situation though, because sometimes a compromised antenna is the only antenna you're gonna get up, and it's better than no antenna.
Yeah, sometimes you can't put up. That's why I've started to make my end-fed half waves linked, because sometimes I don't have 66 feet, or I just don't feel like putting up 66 feet. So I can take my 10-meter mast, just run it vertical, unlink the 40-meter section, and now I have 33 feet of wire. It's like the perfect length to just go vertical with a 10-meter mast. So there's that. There's so many reasons to have. I would always recommend having some type of vertical and some type of wire antenna, like a dipole or an end-fed or something like that, because especially if you're going to a new park and you don't, I always recommend look at Google Maps, look at the satellite view of the park that you're going to, and kind of scope out the land as best you can. What's up, Joe Brett? But there's only so much reconnaissance you can do from looking at Google Maps. So like me going to Huntsville State Park, I've activated the place 78 times, but I'm in there even more than that, just doing antenna builds and filming videos, doing other things that I just don't have the room to do at home. So it's kind of my proving grounds. I know every square inch of that park, and I know if I'm going to go to this part, I can bring this antenna, or if I'm going to go in the woods, maybe I'll bring another one. But if you don't know where you're going, bring different antennas.
Exactly. If you get room for it, bring different antennas and a couple of antennas, and just as a spare antenna though. I did not do that today when my MFJ 1979 broke, and I had to use the tuner and the X6100 to do 20 meters, and that was not a good option.
Well, at least you had that option though. So
yeah, I did.
But yeah, having and I would always encourage even before you go out to a park, like if you're like, I want to do this, you can practice at home. Well, usually, take all your stuff, put it in a bag, whatever you think you need, put it in a bag, and just go in your backyard or your front yard and set up your station. That way you're going to know what you need, what maybe you don't need, what you forgot. It's a lot easier to just run inside and grab something and kind of develop that muscle memory before you go out. Because if you're driving, a half hour, some guys have to drive 2.5 hours to get to the closest park. Well, if you forget a connector or so for example, I took a bit of coaxial cable out a couple of weeks ago when I was filming some of those 10-meter videos. And one of my coaxes actually had a short in it somehow. Now I blame myself because I put on the connector. It's Messi and Poloni coax. I very much will blame me. It ain't the coax. So there was a short in the connector, and I know that. Fortunately, I had another length of coax with me. I had some RG316 with me, so I was able to get on the air. But had I not had that, I'd have had to drive home. And it's only a 15-minute drive from my house to Huntsville State Park. And I have just left my stuff there, drove home, and came back, and all my stuff's still there. I feel genuinely pretty safe there, but your heart sinks when you get all the way out there and you forgot something. So practice.
It takes the fun out of it, though, if you forget something or you don't have spares. And spare coax is also a good advice, though, because at some point your coax is going to fail.
Mm-hmm. It happens. It absolutely happens. And even leave it in the car. If you maybe have an extra spare bag that you just leave in the car. But it's as you do more activations, you learn what you need, what you don't need. I can't stress enough, just have connectors.
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, when the heck am I ever going to need this? Boy, I'll tell you, there will come a time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
I promise.
And keep a couple of them, because one is none and two is one. So
exactly. You might have 2 runs of coax. I typically will only bring, usually the longest run of coax I'll bring is maybe 50 feet. Unless I'm running a dipole up in a tree. But it's not a bad idea to have a barrel connector and another length of coax, because again, if you don't know the park you're going to, where your operating position is and where you are actually able to put up that antenna could be 2 completely different things. So if you got to connect some coax and make a longer run, having that barrel I literally have a bag just dedicated to connectors.
Yeah, and I see that LB4FH comments that tuning up random stuff you find on a soda summits makes you happy.
That would be cool, yeah.
And I'd like to see you do that, Chittil, on your YouTube channel. Do post a video about tuning up random stuff on a soda summit.
Yeah.
Do that as one of your next videos.
Today we're gonna tune up this granite.
And 45 Auto says, do not leave a 3D printed antenna winder in a closed vehicle in an Oklahoma or Texas summer. Yeah. And that's pretty much, it wouldn't work in a Norwegian summer either. So
you need to get some of that high heat stuff.
And I hope that's not a LB0 FI antenna that you've left in your car. If so, just let me know and I'll send you a replacement.
So what are you making?
I'm making dipoles. I got a link dipole kit and a monoband dipole kit.
Is that
just
right?
hang on here.
I did not know that.
You did not know that.
I mean, I see it scrolling across the thing here, but
yeah. Let me see here if I'm on the right tab.
Oh, we're on the POTA tab. There we are.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I'm making these
450 knock.
Yeah, that's about $45. That's Norwegian kroners. But if you go in there, you'll get the price in US dollars.
What's the link?
Let me just show you here. This is the centerpiece, and here are both the end insulators and the links. It's the same piece for those, and I'm just using automotive
Where are you
connectors.
posting this link in the chat, or I'm missing something?
The link is in the description. I can post it in the chat as well.
Okay.
So
No, I can grab it from the description. Oh, there we are, right there. Open link in
let me
new
just-
tab. Got it.
Oh, I've been showing it opened in a new tab, so I thought I was showing you what the antenna looked like, but
Nope.
it's just been the same. No, I didn't. So,
But I got it.
but let me just post the link in the chat though, if anyone want to take a look at my antennas. And speaking of that, you're making battery boxes, Mike, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. I can grab one if you want to see it.
Yeah, sure.
Or here, we can go. You can go to K8MRD.square.site. But let me grab one. Hang on.
And while he does that, I'll check out his site there.
So there you are. So hit that shop now tab and you can see them there. And you should be able to click on that. And I do need to adjust my inventory though. I only have, oh, maybe I did that already. Do I only have two?
Yeah,
yes. Okay. I actually have three, but I need to fix a light on one.
I saw your presentation on ham nuggets, and they look really, really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, these are really fun.
And for the soda people in the chat, how heavy are they?
They weigh just under 15 pounds.
So that's about 7.5 kilos.
7.5
yeah.
kilos, yeah. So
that,
for soda, you're probably not going to want to hike up a mountain with one of these. I mean, they're pretty big. Where's my camera? There it is.
Let's see. I'm going to change. Just got to find the right tab here. Now, let's see here. Yeah, now you can show it, Mike.
Whoops. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. There.
Yeah. So it's too big for summits on the air. But it's
I mean, unless you're a maniac and want to carry it, but yeah, I mean, it's 15 pounds. It's not the lightest thing in the world, but it's got. I'll just show you briefly. The top power pole here is for your solar input, and then you've got three Anderson power poles. They're all genuine Anderson power pole, 45 amp power poles, and they're all switched. They're all fused. You've got a USB here that has a USB 3.0 and two USB-C PD power delivery things, whatever. The meter here shows your voltage, your current draw, your accumulated current, so you know the state of charge of your battery the whole time. And then let me crack this guy open real quick. There's the solar charge controller, the fuse block, and then just some documentation and stuff. Whoops, over here that I ship with it. So, and then there's a 30 amp hour Bioenno. No, unfortunately, I'm not shipping these internationally. It's just way too expensive to ship a battery overseas.
Yeah, batteries are problematic to ship though.
And, I'm not just doing the boxes. They take so much time to make. There's a lot of reasons, but let's just go with no. I'm not just sending the boxes.
Yeah, and actually though, batteries, shipping batteries is complicated though, and I'm really jealous when I see what you guys pay for your LiFePo batteries.
The funny thing is, like, China is a huge distributor of lithium batteries, and they're not all bad. There's some good ones there, and it's interesting. Like Miati is one that comes to mind.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised I don't see more lithium iron phosphate batteries in Europe. I don't know.
The last lithium battery I bought was a 5 amp hour battery, and that was about $100.
Wow.
US. So
where did you get it from?
I got it locally.
Okay.
Because when I go to Amazon, it just say doesn't ship to Norway.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, but LB4FH comment, the first battery used for soda weighed something like that. It was a lead acid motorcycle battery.
Ooh, yeah. I started off with a it was an AGM, an absorbent glass mat lead acid. I think you still have it on just me there.
There you go.
And it
we
was like
lost you for a little while.
it was a little 9 amp hour battery, and yeah, they weigh a ton. So the lithium batteries are exponentially lighter weight, and they have a higher current that you can pull out of them, and you're typically going to get 90 to 100% of the rated capacity out of it versus a lot of the lead acid batteries, unless it's like a marine deep cell battery. A lead acid battery, you're only actually going to get half of what that battery is rated for.
Exactly.
So it's kind of, I think it's false advertising, but so yeah,
it is. If you don't know your batteries, it is. So
yeah.
So still, see, we've run past the hour mark though, so
Wow.
we're going to try to wrap up. This has been a fun stream, Mike. So thank you for being
That
on.
went by quick.
It did.
Yeah, Lord Callum has a stream going on now, so
I just got a notice, so we're not going to disturb his stream though. But yeah,
I'm gonna bomb his stream. I've got the link.
So
everyone go over to his channel.
So that's a good advice for you, at least the ones that don't have to put kids to bed. Do go over to DX Commander's
What time
stream.
is it where you are?
It is 10 p.m.
Oh, okay. That's not terribly late. It's getting there though.
Yeah, it's getting close to the start of my workday tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. And just a quick
privilege.
reminder, though, I'm really close to 900 subs now, so I'll be giving away my LB0 Fox India ADSB dipole, custom made one. And at the 1,000 subscribers, you'll get a Baofeng if you just watch my first live stream after that. So I'm getting there sometime.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
We all start at 0.
Yeah, and I actually just started this just to prove my kids that you can't really get any viewers on YouTube. So I guess I can say that my project kind of failed. No, but anyway, thanks for being on, and thanks to all the viewers in the chat. And 7-3.
73, guys.